This video will cover the 3 finale hex maps along with tricks that pros use to dominate. Let's start with a map that started it all, Hex A Gone. The thing with this map is that since everyone runs, they often leave tiles behind. By playing slowly, you could potentially find yourself with a whole bunch of leftover tiles. What I mean by playing slow is that instead of running, you jump from one tile to another. There are also 2 techniques that you can perform that will help you slow down as well, and those are double jumps and slow dives. These 2 are skills that you can take with you to the other 2 hex maps as well. Double jumps are exactly what it sounds like. You jump on the tile twice. The tile gradually fades, and as it's fading, you're still able to interact with it. So when you're about to descend back down, you hit your jump button again and you perform a double jump. Hitting your jump button really fast is the key to performing this. Here's a frame of reference that you can use. When the tile shakes right before it disappears is when you should hit your jump button. You'll find it challenging to perform double jumps, but the more you do it, the more easy it'll be. With double jumps, you save 1 to 2 seconds, and trust me, those seconds stack up. Another much simpler technique that pros use, and it's way more common than double jumping, is slow diving. It's where you dive on the tiles. To perform this, you jump on a tile and then hold your movement stick slightly forwards and dive. At first, you might overdo it and hit 2 tiles, but just ever so slightly move your joystick forwards and then dive. Definitely practice this one because it's much easier to do than double jumping and can slow you down significantly. I had a game recently where if I wasn't slow diving at the end, I would have lost. Every second counts in this game, and these 2 strats alone will elevate your gameplay to new heights. From my experience, what separates the amateurs from the pros is how they use the tiles surrounding them, and also how they're able to think on their feet quickly. While thinking on your feet comes with time and experience, for the former, if you run in a straight line, you could potentially leave a lot of tiles behind you. So turn back around and use those tiles, and use the tiles that are just from the sides, and just in general, move freely. Don't constrict yourself to just one line. Don't think with the crowd. Just because everyone is running, that doesn't mean you have to run as well. A strat that I often do is I will sprint jump or run while jumping so that I can leave some tiles behind me and preserve them better. Often people are so focused on the island that they're currently in, they don't see where they currently are in relation to the tiles below them. So definitely look at the tiles below you and see where you need to position yourself for the best optimal play. Often what I'll see pros do is that they will use the tiles around them really efficiently. What that means is that they may just jump dive over certain tiles, they may go from one direction to another, or they'll jump dive on 2 tiles and they'll turn around, and they will just use tiles in such a way where they're able to get to the next location easily. And tile usage and tile optimization plays is not really something that really beginners think about, but even though you may have this large real estate, even if you have a small island, using it this way is definitely something that you just need to start doing if you really want to start winning games. Moving freely and being able to think this way is a game changer and just something you'll develop as you play more Hex A Gone. Never underestimate how far you're able to dive. You can dive over a 2 tile gap, so really go for those long plays. I've mentioned how newbies will run in a straight line constantly, and there are times where that's all you can really do. Heck, you could even cut people off by running on tiles that people may need to use in order to get to the other side. Or you could split an island halfway, or you could just run in front of people to put pressure on them. Learning when to run and when to slow down by either slow diving or double jumping will take time and practice. My recommendation would be to learn slow diving first, as that's the easiest strat you can learn and it could help you stall for time. I actually had a game recently where I was on yellow and I had a bunch of real estate, so I thought, okay, I'm going to stay on yellow and I'm going to slow dive, and then I'm going to position myself to where I'm able to land on that section of blue. But while I was doing that, I glanced at the blue section I was going to go to and someone was already there, and so I was screwed either way, so I just couldn't do anything and I died. Sometimes you just gotta drop down and leave your island behind, because if you don't, you could end up in a bad spot and lose anyways. There are times where you could slow dive or double jump or just use the tiles around you and win, since everyone is below you and are about to die, but most of the time you'll end up in the bottom anyways, so just drop everything and get down there as soon as possible. Being greedy and not ready to let go could be your downfall. This is not something that I do regularly, but grabbing people can be advantageous in this map. Just make sure to not grab onto someone for too long or you could fall down as well. Try to grab them either from the back or from the sides, it's just so that they can't grab you as well. A variation you might get is Hex 4041 or low gravity hex, as it's more commonly known as. Definitely don't be afraid of going to small islands. One person on a small island could outlast a bigger island with 2, 3 or 5 people on it. Jump later rather than early. Jump as a tile is about to fade away. This will really help you in the final moments. If you're able to pull this off flawlessly, you will be the last one to jump, and as you're falling, dive. Diving slows your fall, which could get you the win potentially. Staying on the edges and double jumping is one of the best ways of playing Hex-A-Ring. This was the map that I learned to master double jumping. It's more forgiving if you screw it up because you have potentially 2 layers to catch your fall. Staying in the middle and front of the barrel is much easier now since they slowed the ring down. Sprint jump or run while jumping so you preserve as much tiles as possible, and run diagonally from one side to another. If you see people run from one side to another, follow them and then quickly turn around. And always keep an eye out for where people are and pick the side with the least amount of people. While running is great to do early game, for mid to late game, sprint jumping is what you should be doing, no question about it. It wastes less tiles and allows you to jump further distances, which could come handy in certain situations. The only time I find myself running in late game is when I need to cut someone off. Other than that rare situation, I find myself sprint jumping even at the beginning of the game. If you see yourself falling behind, don't run and jump upwards, you'll only slow yourself down even further. And you could risk hitting the edge of a tile and being boosted backwards. Instead, run forwards and just keep at it until you're clear. This does hinge on the fact that the tile in front of you is in level with you. So if you're on yellow, all the tiles in front of you should be yellow. Like with Hex A Gone, you're able to leap quite a fair distance, so never be afraid to do so. And from some of my experiences, definitely pick a side quickly, because if you stay in the middle, by the time the barrel rotates, there will definitely be no tiles for you to jump to. This is where the grown-ups double jump. One mistimed input and you'll be in the pink soup. As the game goes along, the tiles take longer to respawn. What I do is I stay in the edges of the map and I double jump in a small section, and since the tiles respawn fairly quickly, I just stay there and out of everyone's way. If I need to run forwards, I do so by sprint jumping or running while jumping. I will say to be careful about staying near the edges as the wall closes in. Near endgame, try going to the center and double jumping, but don't neglect the edges either. Cutting people off in this map, while useful, doesn't really have much of an impact, at least it doesn't to me anyways. It definitely has way more of an impact in Hex-A-Ring and Hex A Gone than it does in this map. But if you see a good opening, definitely go for it. There's another strat that you can do that will slow you down by a good margin. It's basically you double jump, dive onto another tile, and jump as that tile is fading. You double jump into a dive and end it off with a jump. I'll be honest and say this is something that I'm still learning to do, and it's very complicated to do. This is pretty difficult and I don't see a lot of people doing this, but it's still worth mentioning. Or you could just do slow diving. This map also has a blast ball variation. What I do is I try and predict where the person will end up and aim there. This is so they just fall straight down and they almost never expect it. Look at the person you want to hit and let go of the blast ball and it'll go rolling towards them. Make sure to pan your camera and be on the lookout for people who are close to you and have blast balls in hand. Double jumping on the edges could be risky and putting the target on your back, so definitely be careful in doing it. The hex maps play very similarly to one another. The skills are very transferable. Slow diving works on both Hex A Gone and Terrestrial. I wouldn't do it in Hex-A-Ring because the ring does move, but double jumping is something I would master for sure because it can be used in all the maps. Sprint jumping is a great way to prevent tile wastage, and in Hex A Gone, always run and turn around because you could find a whole nest of tiles behind you.